Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breakthroughs with Bree. On this podcast, we are discussing all of the topics that help us have breakthroughs on our personal and spiritual development journeys. My name is Bree, otherwise known as Healing with Bree, and I'm a channeler, energy healer, tarot reader, astrologer, and soul alignment coach. My mission in my work and in this podcast is to help teach people how to shift their consciousness, how to heal, and how to release beliefs and patterns and fears of their ego mind so that they can step into alignment with their soul to live lives of abundance, purpose, and bliss. In these episodes, I will be sharing either through my own lens and my own channel or through the experiences of my guest, wisdom and expertise about healing, spirituality, psychology, personal growth, holistic wellness, mysticism, consciousness, and so much more. My hope is that these conversations help you feel seen and provide support and inspiration for you with your own personal breakthroughs. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Breakthroughs with Bree. Today, we have our August energy update, and I'm feeling called to do it differently than we usually do. Usually we have like a specific type of tarot spread. We talk about numerology, astrology, and I'm not going to lie, my process of creating those episodes felt a little clunky the last couple times. They weren't feeling quite as like light and joyful as I really like to experience when I'm creating something, and sometimes can be a signal that something different wants to come through, that there wants to be like a different process, a different energy, that it's time to change it up. And so I'm coming in today with total surrender for how the guides want to bring through their guidance or their take for this upcoming month. Ooh, and this is interesting. The Akashic Record keepers are asking me to connect specifically to them. So I'm going to take a minute and do that really quick. Hello, lovely listeners. I have a quick announcement for you. I am doing a free giveaway of a full tarot session or of my new session, my manifestation energy attunement. You can win one of these free sessions by doing something that will literally only take you moments. You can enter this giveaway by leaving a review for the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and you can get more entries into this giveaway by sending the screenshots not only of the Apple Podcast review, but if you're on Spotify and you give the podcast a 5-star rating on Spotify, send me a screenshot, another entry. And if you share the podcast with your friends or in a Facebook group or in a group messaging, you can also get more entries by doing that and taking a screenshot of it. If you just send it to one person in like a text message, you take a screenshot, you send it to me, that's 2 more entries. If you send it in a group of some sort and send me a screenshot of sharing your favorite episode and recommending Breakthroughs with Bree, then you get 5 entries into this giveaway. And those are uncapped. So as many times as you share it or as many entries as you can get so that you can receive a free session with me. I'm going to be announcing the winner on Friday, August 9th. So Friday of this week that the podcast episode is coming out. I'm taking entries. I really want to give these sessions to you guys for free. 2 people are going to win, and they're going to be able to choose which of those 2 session types they want to do. Do they want to get messages and guidance through tarot, or do they want to activate their energy and attune to the vibration of their manifestations and desired experiences? You get to pick if you enter this giveaway. Leave a review for the podcast. Send me a screenshot. Send it, share it with other people. Send me a screenshot. Leave ratings in multiple podcast apps. Send me a screenshot. Entries all over the place. Send them to me in a DM on Instagram or via email. However you want to send them to me, send them to me. I'll be keeping track, and I'll announce the winners on Friday, August 9th. Thank you so much for your support of this podcast, rating, reviewing, sharing, and leave such a big impact. And I'm so excited that I could offer some free sessions for those of you who are listening anyway. Love you guys so much. Let's get back to the episode. Okay, so we're starting connecting to the Akashic Records, and if you are new to the records or new to my work with the records, I'm feeling called to explain just a little bit about that. Yeah, the record keepers would love to give you a little bit of perspective. So the Akashic Records is a band of energy, a frequency of energy that holds quite a lot of information. It holds the record of literally everything. When I do my Akashic Record sessions with people, we're tapping into the records of your individual soul, all of the things that have happened to your soul in every single incarnation, etc., etc. And for this particular lifetime, where the record keepers tend to like to focus in my sessions, your soul contracts, your experiences, some of your karmic relationships, and also some of your future trajectories based on decisions and beliefs and things that you're holding right now. This is a really powerful frequency of energy to connect to. Yeah, the record keepers are saying we really like offering you almost like a bird's eye perspective on what's going on. They're saying that the collective right now is really opening up to look at and experience life in a very different way than they have in generations previously, which is really exciting. There's also almost like a frenzy of energy that can tell that it's on its way out to be released. And so there's both this like great expansion and catharsis and relief in tapping into like a soul level perspective on thing, but there's also this like undercurrent of energy. It's feeling how they're showing it to me a little bit restless right now, a little bit like frantic as we're starting to release it. And they're showing me now that our ability to ground and to center while we're bringing through such big shifts in our perspective, which is really bringing big shifts to the vibration of our being able to get grounded and find calm and just kind of like let the restless energy move without trying to distract ourselves, which is really feeding into that energy. That's going to serve our bodies, our nervous systems, and our overall growth the most. And this is true for everybody listening as well as on a collective level. Yeah, they want to bring it back around. There's a big shift in how we're understanding our connection with our intuition, our soul, and our human experience that they want to talk about today. Understanding this shift, understanding this difference feels like it is going to help us make the most of the energy that's coming up in this month. And they do say that they'll talk to us through the tarot. I have those ready. That's fun. Thank you so much. And it feels like they want to start by giving everybody the opportunity to like fully receive what's going to come through today. It feels like there's also a little bit of energy work that wants to come through these messages, should you be open to them. So they're saying if you want to claim and receive the healings and the shifts that would only come through if they're for your highest and best good, then you can say to yourself right now, I receive whatever would be in support of my highest and best good now. And they're adding also to say, I open up my mind and my heart to feel the vibration of what is true to me on a soul level as I start to take in new information and shift how I look at and understand things previous to now. Okay, they're reminding me that I can give you guys a heads up right now. I do have my Akashic activation sessions open for August and September. I have a handful of sessions for each month. Again, like I mentioned, we tap into the Akashic records of your personal, of like your soul, so like your personal records, and we bring through energy activations and messages that help you find deeper alignment with your path and your soul. And there tends to be like a lot of guidance. There tends to be a lot of offering of suggestions and perspectives and validating things that you know, and giving you suggestions for how to navigate situations that are tricky. If you're trying to get a sense of, options and choices, some information about those trajectories that you can use to make decisions, it's a deeply powerful and supportive session. If you're trying to come into deeper contact with yourself, if you're kind of in the midst of that spiritual awakening sort of thing, connect with your intuition, or if you're just feeling the pull to connect with your spirit teams, with your guides, and pull through and have messages from them. And you can book those on healingwithbree.net, as well with any of my other single sessions or my coaching work, whether that's group or one-on-one. Okay, so here's what they're showing me first. They're showing me a well, like a well of water. They're saying that they want you to mind which well you're going to, which well you're pulling up water from and that you're drinking from. A way that you could understand this is like there's a well of water that represents the energy and being nourished from, your inner being, from your higher self, from your soul place, from your source energy. And there's a well of water where it represents you trying to source guidance and nourishment from the human plane, from the 3D world, from the way that the ego mind tries to navigate the world. They're saying, of course, a lot of the collective only sees and only really senses this sort of 3D human plane well of water. They think that that's the only place that they can pull inspiration and energy and healing and ideas and all of these things that we're trying to create with our energy, that we would source it from that place. But there's this other well that is available, and it's like the water is like this turquoise and clear and sparkly and like it tastes great. And they're showing me that that the 3D like sort of human well is, it almost kind of looks like sewer water, and like we're trying to make the best of it, but like it tastes gross. It's not great. Yet we keep walking over and pulling up water and drinking from this well. They're saying that this water actually represents vibration. It actually represents the vibration and energy that we're receiving on sort of like that quantum spiritual level. And then we pull down into our thoughts and into our mind. And from that place in our mind and our thoughts is conjured feelings. And from these places of feelings and thoughts come the actions that we take and the motivations behind them. And then plays out more of the physical manifestation of the energy that we pull through. So where all of this starts on that vibrational level, where we're sourcing that vibrational energy, again, is this metaphor of these two wells. They're saying that a lot of people are being woken up to the fact that the well water of this ego human world tastes really bad. Like there's a lot of people who are like, they've been drinking it their whole life, and they're like, wait, like, God, this tastes awful. Like, ugh, like, what is this? And that discomfort and the pain, honestly, it feels like it's a lot of these sort of like lower vibration, I say in quotes, these like negative feelings, which again, I say in quotes, that those kinds of energies are almost like waking people up and making them start to look and question, like, wait, like, why does this taste so bad? Why does this feel so bad? Why is this not working? This doesn't feel right. And I'm seeing that, the spirit teams are really like working overtime right now. The angels, the guides, the loved ones, the teams of beings that are around each of us all the time supporting us are really connecting with us and intending to help guide us to just like literally turn our heads to see, oh wait, there's another well over there, and like help us take steps over to it and pull up the well and the water from that well and drink from that one instead. That there's like clear, refreshing, tasty water that's just like a few steps over, but we just have to stop pulling up the water from the grody well, from the nasty well. Yeah, they're saying there's actually something really beautiful to this too, that like when we start drinking from, the soul source well, that there's actually a way that we can purify the water from the ego well and bring it back into the source one, that there's like so many different layers that this metaphor can go. Yeah, they're saying another level of this that they want to explain is that where we start energetically is basically like our perspective on certain situations. And they're saying we really want to emphasize to you how important your perspective is. There's almost an energy of like writing off the importance of how you are choosing to look at a situation. That, oh yeah, that's important. Okay, yeah, for sure. No, like that this is a critical, fundamental, and deeply impactful choice to your experiencing your reality. And it's just that they're saying it's a choice. There are so many different perspectives available to you. So they're saying that like when we intend to feel a certain way, and a lot of times this intention can happen subconsciously. If you look at the data about how much of our actions in any given day is driven by subconscious patterns, which is basically habits, right? Those are intentions, but intentions that are happening not consciously. So intentions to feel a certain way. And when we're feeling that way, we're plugged into that vibration of energy, and all of the different ways that we can think about and look at a situation kind of exist on that plane, on that field of energy, right? At any time, it's like we could almost like unplug from that socket and plug into another socket and all of a sudden be receiving different kinds of energy. It really is that easy. Or you could even think of like changing the channel, and the changing of the channel or unplugging and plugging back in is your intention. But when you are not tapping into one of the most magical things about you, and they're saying this like for us like human beings, is that we have the ability to choose and intend. So, if again, it's maybe your pattern, your subconscious pattern to feel a little bit pessimistic or to feel kind of annoyed with things, for example, you being plugged into that annoyed energy, we can call it, plugs you into that plane, that energy field. And what you can perceive through your mind is only ever things that are in alignment with that vibration of annoyance. So you feel annoyed, you think annoyed, you judge people, and it spirals. And really what happens is you build momentum sort of like in the direction of that intention. And the direction of that intention is kind of pointed downwards on the emotional scale. And you kind of feel worse and worse and more negative and more negative. What one could do in these situations is notice that maybe they're feeling a way that they don't want to, and intend to move up the emotional scale, to move up in vibration, starting with the kind of energy that they want to plug into. And right now I'm looking at the emotional guidance scale by Jerry and Esther Hicks, but there's a lot of different ones of these that you could look at. So for example, if you're in an energy of worry and you want to move up in frequency, you could reach for one of the energies that's above and just keep planning on moving higher and higher and higher. So one of them, once you start to like get on the side of positive feelings, and again, I say that in quotations, it's not judging it the way that in the human way we would be contentment. So trying to intend to plug into a different plane of frequency also opens you up to be able to receive the thought patterns, the beliefs, and the perspectives of how you can look at that situation from that place of energy. How you look at a situation when you're plugged into the energy of contentment versus when you're plugged into the energy of worry. Yeah, they're saying that all of you can sense like what kinds of thoughts that you would have, and therefore what kind of feelings you'd have and what kind of actions you'd have, depending on which energy you're intending and therefore like plugging into. Like I'm literally seeing like a cord and a plug being pushed into a socket. Yeah, they're saying regardless of where you're at on that sort of emotional vibration scale, if you choose the soul well, coming back to that initial metaphor, it is going to help guide you up. It's going to help guide you up the scale. It's going to start giving you different perspectives that help you release some of the dense and negative energies and beliefs that were keeping you in lower vibrational experiences, and therefore perspectives that reinforce that feeling, and going to start offering you new perspectives and new truths about yourself, and therefore can become beliefs about how you're interacting with the world, so that you can really anchor in to these higher vibrational kinds of experiences, which is really just us feeling better. It's us feeling happier. It's us feeling more content and satisfied with our lives, which makes us magnetic to the other things that we're dreaming of and we're desiring for ourselves. So one of the things that they want, start us with, leave us with this month is this idea of if you can just be open to and reach for a different perspective, so much would change in your life. And if you can have the awareness that some of your innate or instinctual perspective is conditioned by some of this 3D human scarcity, like fear-based world, and if you can just be open and curious to how might source energy look at this situation, how might my soul look and feel and believe about this situation, and open up to that, then you can receive drastically different ways of looking at and therefore interacting with your circumstances that automatically makes you feel better and also starts to generate different results in your life. Yeah, they're bringing around the 555, which is a number, an angel number that has to do with change. And I did a reel about this in my soul series after doing a tarot session with a client, and we were talking about how this 555 number has the meaning of change is coming. And it feels like they're showing this to me to say that like your life can change dramatically if you change. If you commit to changing your perspective, if you commit to changing your intention, if you commit to changing your choices, all of those things can be different instantaneously. Like literally instantaneously. And if you choose, again, if you intend to be open to, and especially when you let your own intuition and soul guide you on that process, like you will change dramatically very quickly. They're saying that they want me to share from that event that I went to, the big one that I did episode 48 about and the soul series about since then. That represented a moment where a lot of things changed for me. So technically the change happened vibrationally first, because that's where everything started. Like the vibration of me being at that place and that the people who led that event were generating, as well as everybody who participated there, right? Like feeling that on that energetic level, and then having that be broken down on like a mental level for how we can conceptualize and understand those, and bringing that through to a lot of emoting and feeling and release. It shifted a lot, and I can very confidently and like honestly say that my life changed very dramatically, very quickly after that. Very quickly, like in a matter of days, honestly. Really, I guess you could say a week total from the time that the event started. It went for 4 days, and then probably in the next 3 or 4 days after it, especially because I was really focused on like holding the vibration of that and anchoring into it and letting it teach me whatever it was teaching me. Like things were very, very, very different in my life after that. So what, in as little as a week, a lot's changed. And if you watch my soul series, huge manifestations started to come through. But like, aside from the manifestations, how I felt in my own body about my own self changed to reflect the ways that I had been wanting to feel for a long time and just like couldn't figure out how to get there. So the record keepers want to come back around to say, like, there is so much power in the way that you are looking at a situation, your perspective. They're saying, again, part of what feels so empowering and so healing about connecting with us in the records is that we have this like bird's eye perspective, like almost like looking at your earth from out in your atmosphere versus looking at your earth standing on the sea level, or looking at your earth standing from one of your highest mountaintops. Like, these are all different perspectives that give you totally different vantage points and therefore different ways to understand what's happening. That soul perspective is giving you a higher vantage point and more to see and more to understand. And the more that you can see and understand, the more peace you're going to feel, the more you're going to realize that everything is fine. You're not in danger. Everything is working out really well. You're capable, you're worthy, you're loved. Like, the things you want are waiting to rush into you. Like, the more you're going to be able to see that yourself when you reach for and choose this soul perspective. And again, if you're going to the soul well, they're saying some other ways to practically apply that is like, if you are meditating and intentionally doing meditations to connect to your source energy, connect to your soul perspective, connect to your soul peace, receive the energy of your soul fully into your body and just listen and let it show you how to feel and how to think, right? Like, if you're doing things like that, drinking from the soul well and letting that shift and change you. And if you're doing that, more and more often, whether, you start the day in a meditation and then through the rest of the day kind of reach back to that place, take a couple breaths, like anchor back into that energy. Or if you do need to meditate a couple different times a day at first, or like whatever that looks like for you, when you are drinking from the well of your soul, it is going to guide you higher and higher and higher vantage points. There is a certain element of progression, and it does feel like they want me to do a whole other episode about that. So the progression is good. It's not, most of the time, not like a rubber band straight up to it. So if you aren't, immediately jumping up to like a state of bliss, if you've been in a state of deep shame and fear or whatever, like, that does not mean you're doing anything wrong at all. So please don't judge yourself. But if you keep going to the soul well, it will guide you on your own unique path up to this vantage point where you can see, that's how it works. That's what's going on here. And you can really embody and stay in that state of peace and trust. Okay, it feels like they want me to pull some cards on some specific areas where we're shifting perspectives. Let's talk about some card pulls for this month, maybe some specific topics or areas that the record keepers and the guides are showing us that we can have some big perspective shifts. So one of the ways that we're looking at a situation currently is represented by the Two of Pentacles, and where we can get to with it is the Two of Wands. This is really interesting. The Two of Pentacles has to do when we're trying to like balance two different areas of our life. This can, like, one of the best examples is like a work-life balance. But with the Two of Wands, I wonder if it's like balancing two different parts of ourselves or two different goals that we have. The record keepers are saying one that would resonate with a lot of you is this goal to like stay safe and to have stability in like a 3D human way, versus this goal of being really deeply connected to your intuition and your gifts and bringing through however source wants to move through you and having that sort of like abundant and magical life. Almost feels like fighting competing motivations, like competing goals a little bit. And this card feels like we've been trying to like find a balance of the two, like juggle both of them at the same time, especially with in the suit of the Pentacles, which has to do with like the physical world and practicality and, money and health and the things that are like physical in our lives. It feels like there's some like preoccupation with like practically how can we do both, which, just to be clear, is not necessarily wrong. But again, it's almost like looking at a situation like standing on sea level right next to it versus, being oriented 30 degrees to the left and all the way up on a mountain. Like, you're just looking at it different, and it feels like the different perspective that we are being offered on this is the Two of Wands. The Two of Wands has to do with taking into consideration all of the different possibilities that are available to us, and has an air of kind of like taking a risk a little bit. That kind of goes into a little bit of like the Three of Wands, but even on the picture of this card, you see somebody with like literally with the world in their hands, like looking off over a ledge, like seeing how beautiful and how much there is. And oh, this is crazy. They're like up somewhere high, like looking out at a view, like literally a higher vantage point versus this Two of Pentacles, like being on the ground, like at the water level. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. What a synchronicity. And it feels like the guides and the Akashic Record keepers, what they want to offer us with this particular perspective shift is that there is so much more available to you than what your mind can catalog as possible. When you feel inspired or excited by something, it's telling you that not only is it possible, but like you are on a soul level, like already programmed with an affinity for it. Like that's why you're channeling such a level of excitement about it, why you're channeling this hopefulness about it. And it feels like, again, tapping into like, what is the perspective shift we can have on this instead of looking at, oh, here are my two options. How can I go about it in this kind of human way of like, okay, I got to make the best of this and minimize the risk of this and maximize the benefit of this and like kind of do like that sort of way of looking at it. What they encourage is for you to like step back and think even bigger than just these two possibilities that you were considering. Like, what are all of the things that can happen, maybe even outside of just this situation? Like, how can I receive inspiration and ideas that are more than just what my ego mind has told me is possible based on a very limited set of data that it has? That's our own experiences, right? Like we've experienced a blip compared to all of the things that could possibly happen. So connecting with, again, our joy and our excitement and this greater sense of what is possible, like literally like the world is in our hands kind of energy. That perspective shift feels like it alone is going to open up a lot of energy, a lot of momentum. Okay, I pulled a third card for the spread. And what's so funny is I was thinking that the card was one thing, but it's something different. So we're coming at things with this Two of Pentacles energy. The guides are saying, no, come on, Two of Wands. This is the perspective shift. And what feels like it is available to us after we make this perspective shift is the Knight of Swords, which is a card that has come up so many times this year. And it represents momentum and ambition and really letting the fuel of our convictions and what we believe and what we want for ourselves to like carry forward and really start to be put into action. Like when you think of somebody who has absolute conviction and belief in something, like nothing stops them. They can be a little bit like a bulldozer sometimes, but like that represents how impactful it is when you really decide something, when you really believe something. That is one of the most impactful parts of this whole process, is not only are you intending to connect vibrationally and receive the vibration of these things that you want, and are you letting that influence how you think and feel and believe, but are you really choosing those beliefs over and over again? Because the beliefs that create fear, the beliefs that create worry, the beliefs that create suffering, they're really not different on some level than the beliefs that are in alignment with your soul. They're just the ones that you keep choosing. Again, you're kind of like keep going to the human well here. You keep choosing them, so they keep feeling more true. The universe is only ever showing you back what you believe. And even if you think about it on like a psychological level, when they talk about like confirmation bias, like your mind is only ever reinforcing what you choose. It's just you've been choosing fearful, full of worry, doubtful thoughts. When you really get your mind behind you, and when you start to create more consistency and alignment with the thoughts and beliefs that you're just choosing, like you're choosing to be in that vibration, you're choosing to believe that, you're choosing to let your actions be reinforced by that, you'll start to get more proof that those ones are true. Because really, you'll find proof in the external world of anything being true that you choose, right? So why not try and choose the things in alignment with your soul that feel good, that are in alignment with the things that you desire anyway, that feel more resonant, and let the world show you proof of those. So anyway, all of this feels like it's opening up a lot more momentum for energy to move in through our lives. So consider that particular perspective shift. Hi everyone, interrupting this episode for a quick announcement. I am now offering community breakthrough calls, which are going to be group virtual meetings where I am helping bring through channeled messages and coaching for the topic of choice for the month. In August, we are meeting on Sunday the 11th at 5:00 p.m. PST Tickets are only $7 to be able to get access to customized coaching on this month's topic, which is shifting to the soul perspective, very in line with the energy of the month of August. Is it a coincidence? No, of course not. The guide said, please let us help coach more individuals, more people in a group setting, because we really want to bring through information and perspective shifts that makes their lives feel easier, that makes them getting what they desire and what they deserve easier. So I invite you to join me for this community breakthrough call again Sunday, August 11th. You can get tickets on the link in the show description. Only $7 to be able to get access to customized coaching and to be able to ask your questions directly to me and to the guides so that you can start to feel more breakthroughs on the areas of your life that you desire. I hope to see you there, and we'll get back to the episode now. Feels like there's one other area that the guides and record keepers want to offer to us as a perspective shift in this month, given the power of the perspective shift that we've been talking about. So this next area, perspective shifts, that the guides want to talk about feels like it's very relationship based. We got a lot of cups cards going on, collaboration type of cards. So I'm excited to start talking about this. So the area where we're going to be shifting is relationships. And this is the 10 of cups. This is like a relational abundance, tends to be kind of like the theme for this card. And what we're shifting to is the Knight of Cups. And what's available to us afterwards is the 3 of Pentacles. Okay, to start off with, they want to acknowledge the deep desire that we all have for community and for that feeling of connection and love and support and being seen and appreciated and respected, and how rich life can feel when we're so deeply connected in that unconditional love with other people. That desire for it, that's just built into all of us. How important that is, both for our soul evolution as well as just for our simple satisfaction. And it feels like where we're shifting is putting that into action in a different way than we would have before. With the Knight of Cups, what became before this is the Page of Cups. And what they're showing me is that the Page of Cups season of, starting to appreciate and love ourselves and start to relate to ourselves with a little bit more love and support and respect and connection and all of those things that you could list and imagine wanting from a relationship from somebody else. All the different parts of you need that same kind of support and connection. And it feels like the Page of Cups, from what they're showing me, is representing a chapter or a period of time where you're learning how to give that to yourself. You're learning that the parts of yourself that have felt rejected or repressed, whatever, need that same kind of love from you. And they're saying a lot of people are really anxious to give this to other people, but like literally won't give it to themselves. They're like, hello, you need it. You need it first. You have to give it to yourself first. And to the credit of what feels like a lot of people listening to this, you have been putting that in action. And so you're kind of moving on to the next phase here, which is the Knight of Cups, which is putting that into action even with other people. It feels like there is a little bit of an energy of surrender that's being called into this dynamic. Part of the beauty of the element of water is that it can just bend and flow with wherever things are going. It can move around it and like just keep it moving, keep it going. And it feels like you holding the essence of what you are, which is this loving, unconditional, joyful energy that can kind of see the greater perspective of anything at any point. If you're encountering situations that feel a little bit tricky, trying to hold on to that higher perspective, that higher frequency when you're choosing to act. Again, it's not going to hurt you in any way to notice or observe that you have sort of like an ego pattern or something coming up that is thinking or wanting to act in a certain way that doesn't feel like it's aligned with love. Like there's nothing wrong with that. It's when we choose to act on that, or even when we fight against that, because in this attraction-based universe, fighting against something is equivalent to pulling it more in, right? Being able to observe it neutrally and even have like a sense of curiosity and compassion is great. But it's when we do something different than that where things can get a little tricky. And they're just showing that we're kind of getting caught up in those impulses instead of holding the vibration of love. And it feels like the vibration of love is being compassionate while also honoring ourselves, not getting pulled into projections and triggers of how we look at other people. Like, can you actually bring unconditional love to people? Even if that means that you're dating and, somebody behaves in a way that is not really respectful. Like, what would it look like for you to be loving of yourself and of them, for you to put that into practice? Is it to respond compassionately and understandingly, but like to hold your boundary that like you don't need to be spending time or seeing each other again because like you within yourself know that this isn't like a match for the kind of relationship that you want. With family members, is it something the same? Is it you not being reactive? Is it you not wishing that people were different than they were? Is it you not coming in with an energy of dread and angst and judgment of them? Like, how can you put into practice some of this love energy that is the basis of relationships and connections? Like, how can you have a little bit more of surrender? Like, if there's a sharp rock in the middle of the river, like, how can you just flow around it? That feels like it's important. And then what comes of that is the Three of Pentacles, which is the card of collaboration. It's the card of relationship. It's the card of networking. It's the card of teamwork. With this being the Pentacles, it also feels like there's like a practical element of this, like us, really being able to utilize our community in our like day-to-day life. Like if it's a business, like building a really great team that can help you accomplish a goal. If it's friendships, it's like people who can come and rally around you to like help you in your life, right? Or like whatever other ways that like relationships can also be practical in their support. Like you're going to open up the opportunity for you to connect with these people, for you to receive help from these people, like, and for that relationship to be built all together. And that in itself like opens you up to more progress towards your manifestations, because like a lot of these things happen in connection with other people. They don't happen in a silo. Yeah. So to wrap this up, it feels like the guides want to just bring this all together. Like the relational abundance that's available to you in your life is absolute. You're already worthy of it. It's waiting for you. And maybe some of the things that are happening in your relationships or in what you might perceive as your lack of are really just opportunities for you to put into practice and to embody the love energy that makes relationships so fertile in your life, that magnetizes more relationships to you. What if it's not proof that you don't have relationship abundance, that things are happening, but literally your way to relational abundance? It's a big perspective shift. What if there's no such thing as you not having relational abundance? Maybe we all do, again, in different ways. That's helping us connect more deeply with how we can embody it, how we can put it into action. And once we make that shift in how we're looking at it, like the actual physical collaboration, support, teamwork, relationships feels like literally going to come through, which is exciting. And finally, I have one final spread that feels like it represents one last perspective shift that we can consider that might make all of this feel a little bit easier. Starting with the King of Cups, moving towards the Five of Cups, and landing on Major Arcana 2, the High Priestess. This final message here feels like we want to lead from our heart center. The King of Cups. We want to make decisions that are empowered and where we're taking on, so that's sort of like leadership energy in our life with ourselves, with our loved ones, from that heart-centered loving place. Again, talking about the well, the soul well, all this water. Like we want to have it be from that place, right? One of the things that feels like we could shift is our relationship to our own disappointment, our own grief, our own sadness, our own sense of loss. Those parts of ourselves need that heart-centered leadership too. In fact, they need that part of us even more than arguably anything else. For us to be able to hold that leadership energy, which is holding space for the parts of ourselves that do feel grief and disappointment and sadness and heartbreak and guilt and regret, which is all the energies of this Five of Cups. For us to be able to hold space for those is literally the key to our freedom and liberation. It's literally the key to our healing. It's literally the key to releasing any of the things that are blocking us from like experiencing our own divinity and our dream life more fully. It's like, can we hold space for and move through these kinds of feelings represented by the Five of Cups? So what is the perspective shift on that? This is funny. What it feels like they're saying is, if you are interpreting experiences where there's an end result of you feeling any of these emotions, guilt, sadness, pain, regret, whatever, you've been drinking from the ego well. That's a sign you're drinking from. Your perspective is from the ego place. Yes, it's important to let those move because there was a belief that like triggered, that domino effect of those feelings. But we also have to be able to hold that sort of leadership energy, that soul energy, when we're looking at the situation and say, okay, how was I perceiving? What was the story I was telling myself about the situation that even created the outcome of me being able to feel something painful? And how could I look at this situation different? How could my story about this be different? Literally. I just did a one-on-one coaching session with somebody that's in a program with me, and she had a very unfortunate series of events happen, getting injured in a workplace, and again, just really unfortunate series of events. And there was a lot of pain that she was ready to let go about the situation. And, we did my trigger alchemy process in one of my sessions. And part of what we did first was bring up and acknowledge the full story, the full feelings that were connected to this event. And again, there was a lot of regret and anger and resentment, and really this feeling of loss, like that those events had taken something from her, or that they had held her back in some way, right? Like that was how she was relating to the perspective that she had on those events. And through reaching out to her higher self and her soul to say, okay, what is the truth about this? What's another way to look at this? And her being truly open to seeing this situation in a different way, she was able to see that that situation never actually hurt her. It never took anything from her. It never held her back in any way. Were there experiences that she had that were difficult? Yes. Are there physical things that she is healing? Yes. But did it actually take anything from her? No. And that was abundantly clear when she was connecting with her own higher self and her own soul level truth. She was able to see and hear that there was a bigger purpose in all of this, that there was a bigger lesson that actually helps her in her pursuit of her dreams and her soul aligned life. And that is an entirely different way to look at the situation. That's an entirely different way to perceive the situation, and therefore how she feels about the situation is very different. And one of the key things that happens when she feels different is that she stops resisting that it happened. She stops fighting against the fact that it happened. She stops being at war with what happened, which keeps alive all of those really dense and heavy and negative energies, in quotations, that were attached to that event that feel like they're like cement blocks holding us down. When we can feel and look at that differently, we release it. We surrender to it, and we stopped being attached to it so it can finally flow out and leave. And for her, who is also manifesting some physical symptoms, that's also going to mean that she can physically heal. That's an example of how much our perspective can change and how we're relating to feelings like grief and sadness and regret, all of this 5 of Cups kind of energy, like our ability to shift how we're looking at those feelings, right? And now the story is, I had a version of myself who used to feel like really resentful, used to feel really mad, used to feel really victimized by that experience. I honor her. I love her. That was the best that I had at the time. But what I choose now, what feels true to me now, is that we never really were hurt. Like nothing really ever took anything from us, and that we've had the power this whole time to come out on the other end even more powerful than how we started, and that the universe has been guiding the whole time to get us to that place. Like we were always supported, we were always protected, and that is what's true for me now, right? Like you can't get to that empowered place until you come to and connect with these sort of 5 of Cup energies, and until you hold the leadership of that sort of soul energy to have it help you look at it differently. And what comes out on the other end of that is this major arcana 2, the High Priestess, which has to do with us being connected to our inner knowing, our inner wisdom, our inner guidance. The High Priestess has to do with when there's mysteries or something feels vague or unclear, how the answer to anything, literally anything, any situation, is us coming into ourselves, into the silence, into the mystery of the unknown, which is our soul source energy. Our ability to be more connected with this place, the High Priestess place, is strengthened when we do something like this card spread has just demonstrated. When we exercise that muscle of approaching old stories, old feelings, and seeking out a different perspective, that soul perspective, and choosing that new perspective over and over and over again until that is what is subconsciously programmed and it becomes effortless. That strengthens our muscle to be able to connect to the answers that are in our soul at any time, because it's the same practice. The final card for this is the 7 of Pentacles, which has to do with perseverance and long-term return on investment. I had somebody in my self-worth workshop that I did ask the question of how do I start building more faith, more conviction, more belief in, that soul part of myself and in the universe. And what has been made clear to me since that event and myself opening up more to what the answers of that could be is that it is our choice, our repeated choice. Which well are we choosing to drink out of here at any moment? When you choose your soul, your source energy, your inner being, and you choose to reach for that vibration, reach a little higher, go in the direction of feeling better, your mind will help bring you the proof and the experiences that deepen that sense of conviction, that deepen that faith. But it all starts with, are you going to choose, and are you going to keep choosing? Because you've been choosing the other way, the other well, for however many years of your life now. That muscle has been exercised and is bulky. Man, it's ripped. So can you start working out that other arm? I'm thinking of it as arms, like your right bicep is like so big. That's the arm that you're choosing to like pick up the ego patterns and the ego stories and the water from the ego well. And your left arm is like a little stick figure over here, not to say it's that extreme, but just as like as a metaphor, right? Like, can you start lifting some weights on that left arm? Because the more that you pick it up again and again and again, the muscle gets bigger, and that muscle being bigger could be a metaphor again for your own sense of conviction and faith and trust, connection with that soul perspective and all the power that it can offer you to create and influence your experience and to have a magical life. So this month, like, make choices that are moving you towards the direction of what you want long term, that represent your commitment to wanting to feel better, that represent your perseverance in choosing to climb like the other way up the hill. Because you're going to be going upstream for a minute. Because again, you have years and years of you making choices and your brain cataloging them and converting them to subconscious beliefs. That would mean that when you're just mindless and chilling or whatever, automatically it's reaching for different kinds of energies. It takes a minute of like paddling upstream, choosing really mindfully to start changing the tide, to start changing the current. And it feels like this month we're in a little bit of that energy with the Seven of Pentacles. But just know that this card is really beneficial because we will see the fruits of our labor. We will see the return on that investment, and that the work, the choices, the actions that we take, the way that we intend with our energy will reap really big results, like really big results. That feels like it for the messages for this month. Thank you, Akashic Record Keepers and Guides, all of my spirit teams, for bringing through this information, this little channeled message about the upcoming energy for the month of August. Last couple announcements. I have a new service offering that's available on my website. It's called the Manifestation Energy Attunement. Like we talked about, everything starts on the vibrational level. And what I'm learning is that a lot of us just don't know how to start there, how to start by connecting to the vibration and how to let that start to make the dominoes fall, how to identify when we're perceiving thoughts and ideas when we're in that place, and how to release some of those energies, those quote unquote kind of like opposing energies that come up when we're really picking up and intending like that high vibration, that goal that we have. So in these sessions, I'm doing like a custom guided meditation and like energy work session where we'll be zeroing down on the, manifestation or the goal or the dream that you have, what that means vibrationally, you to start connecting to it and starting to receive what are some inspired actions that are coming from that place, what are some of the blocks that are coming up to be released, right? And those are like the next stepping stones towards you actually receiving your manifestations. And the session will be recorded, so you'll be able to go back and do that meditation like again and again and again. And at that point, again, if you are in alignment with it vibrationally, energetically, like it has no choice but to come through, especially when you let the vibration affect thoughts, affects feelings, affect actions. Like if you're letting it flow all the way through to that, it has no choice but to manifest for you physically. So these sessions will help you kind of like kickstart the start of that and have a tool to like ground back into that and come back to it. And I'm really excited to see how they go, how people respond to the results. I have those Akashic sessions for August and September open. And then my digital course Soul Powered, which will be teaching you about connecting to the soul place, receiving its guidance in general, alchemizing blocks and ego patterns that come up so that you can come back and be a greater, like an even wider, more capable, more grounded vessel for your soul energy. That course is going to be available very soon. So I'm so excited for all of you guys who are interested in that to be able to receive that, for that to be able to support you if you feel so moved. And it was so much fun bringing through a different kind of energy for this month's energy forecast. I'm so grateful you're here, and I will see you next week for more breakthroughs. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode and for tuning in to Breakthroughs with Bree. Please share your favorite episodes with your friends and loved ones, and please like, subscribe, and rate the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it, as it helps me continue to create these episodes to help support your breakthroughs. I would love to stay connected with you, so please follow me on social media at Healing with Bree. Please check out my website at healingwithbree.net, which will always have the most up-to-date information about the services that I'm currently offering. And please consider using the link in the show descriptions to subscribe to my email list so you can be the first to hear about any offerings. You can get all of the free resources that I offer, as well as get my weekly channeled messages. My deepest love and gratitude to you, and I can't wait to have more breakthroughs with you next week.